Fatty didn't understand and asked, "What? What isn't human? If not human, is it a monster then?" I replied, "That's not what I mean, I just said that. We've been together for a month, day and night. Don't we know what kind of people we are?" This prophet kid just spouts nonsense. Ancient people were ignorant and backward. What haven't we seen? How can we believe those drawings that look like evil charms? My mouth said that, but in my heart, I thought differently. Now I had to be more careful. There were so many unpredictable things in this world. Whether this prophet's oracle applied to us, damn it, only heaven knew. Thinking of this, I gripped the black donkey hoof tightly in my hand, preparing for any mishap. I asked Shirley Yang again, "Did you misread it? Is it possible that there were originally 5 human figures drawn and over the years, one faded, leaving only 4? Shirley Yang pointed to the carving on the stone casket. This stone casket is perfectly preserved, with no signs of erosion. These are clearly 4 people. Look, these symbolic figures for humans are extremely simple. A circle above for the head, a few smaller lines for the body and limbs. Isn't that exactly 4 people? I looked closely again, and it was just as Shirley Yang said. She also showed me the carvings in front. The carvings were extremely simple. Even I understood them at a glance. The first depicted a child pointing to the sky, with many people scattering and hiding on the ground, likely ordinary civilians. The second and third depicted a whirlwind, blowing away many houses. The people who had hidden earlier all safely escaped the disaster. They surrounded the child, bowing down and worshipping. Apparently, the child could predict natural and man-made calamities. The fourth carving showed the child standing next to 2 adults, with an old man kneeling on the ground. The lines of these figures were extremely simple. The old man's depiction merely had a few sparse lines drawn on the circular head to represent a beard. Although simple, this carving was very easy to understand. The 2 adults in the carving were distinctly taller than ordinary people, and the carving was extremely meticulous, not as rough as the figures of common folk. These were likely 2 ancient legendary sages or immortals. The old man kneeling on the ground was clearly their servant. The old corpse in this tomb was probably him. It seemed Shirley Yang was completely correct. The owner of this stone casket was a child with prophetic abilities. I continued to examine the adjacent carvings, most of which recounted the achievements of this child prophet. When I reached the last carving, my hair truly stood on end. This stone painting depicted an old man and a child, sitting on either side of the stone casket. In the tomb, there were 4 people standing. These 4 figures were extremely ordinary and simple. One couldn't tell if they were old or young, male or female, tall or short, thin or fat. One of them was reaching out to open the casket. This was also the last carving on the surface of the stone casket. There were no more behind it. What secret, after all, did this stone casket hold? Most importantly, there were no signs whatsoever that it had been opened before. It was sealed with buffalo hide lacquer. I turned back to look at the 4 remaining people. Shirley Yang was supporting Professor Chen, who was dazed and confused. Yi Xin had collapsed, her chest rising and falling with rapid, shallow breaths, with no medicine to treat her. Fatty squatted on the ground, shaking his head, looking at her helplessly. It couldn't be wrong, there were definitely 5 people. If this prophecy was truly accurate, then why, when we clearly had 5 people, did that stone carving only depict 4? My mind spun like a top, going through all possible scenarios, but there wasn't a single clue. Could it be that one of the 5 of us wasn't human, but controlled by an evil spirit? Or even, as Fatty said, Shirley Yang was the reincarnation of Queen Jingju? I found it utterly meaningless and ridiculous. Reincarnation, what nonsense, I didn't believe it at all. So, was it possible that the prophecy itself had an error? I then asked Shirley Yang what dynasty these prophetic sages belonged to. Shirley Yang replied, according to the records of the western regions in the Great Tang, these 2 ancient western regions sages likely lived in the 16th century BCE, which was the time of the Xia and Shang dynasties in the Central Plains. That was the first civilized period of the ancient Western regions, 1,000 years earlier than the era of the 36 Western region states. I did a quick mental calculation and couldn't help but feel astonished. I didn't expect it to be so ancient. In that case, it was even harder to believe the prophecies carved on the stone casket were true. There were no other predictions on it. Perhaps the prophet at the time was confused, drawing one person short. No matter how accurate the calculations, errors were hard to avoid, let alone a prophecy from thousands of years ago. I asked Shirley Yang again if it was possible to infer what would happen after opening the stone casket based on the outer carvings. Was there any danger? Shirley Yang shook her head and said, "There are no more clues. However, we are trapped in this tiny room, unable to ascend or descend. The only option is to open this stone casket and see. The prophet might have anticipated our accidental entry and perhaps left us a way out." Fatty, seemingly impatient, swaggered forward, pushing Shirley Yang and me aside. He said, "You two have been studying for half a day with no results. This prophet kid is just a tiny speck, damn it, what could he predict? Look at me, it's just an old worn-out casket with no lock." That's right, didn't it predict that one of the 4 people would reach out to open the casket? Let's play along. Yi, give me your hand, let's open it together. With that, he prepared to push the lid open. Just then, Yi Xin, who was unconscious, suddenly convulsed for a moment. Her legs straightened, and she lay motionless. We ignored the stone casket and rushed over to check on her. I felt for her pulse. There were no signs of life left. This young girl was suffering from acute dehydration, had endured hardships along the way, and was severely shocked in the ghost cave. Her life had been hanging by a thread. It was already not easy for her to hold on until this moment. We just didn't expect her to depart so suddenly at this very instant. All 3 of us were speechless for a moment. Shirley Yang embraced Yixin's body, tears falling. I sighed, about to offer some words of comfort, when I suddenly saw Professor Chen in his dazed state, grin foolishly. He abruptly stood up, walked to the stone casket, and reached out to push the lid open. The 3 of us gaped. All these events unexpectedly coincided perfectly with the prophet's oracle on the casket. We entered as 5 people, 1 suddenly lost her life, and immediately after, 1 reached out to push open the stone casket. Some people imagine Zhuge Liang's predictions as divine, his calculations wondrous. I thought even Mr. Kongming wouldn't be so accurate. This prophecy was terrifyingly precise. Shirley Yang feared Professor Chen's confusion would cause further trouble, so she quickly pulled his sleeve, making him sit down to rest. Their relationship was like that of a niece and her uncle. Seeing him become so deranged, Shirley Yang felt a bitter ache in her heart, and couldn't help but burst into sobs. I knew Shirley Yang was an extremely strong and competitive person, never showing weakness in front of anyone. Today, she repeatedly shed tears in front of Fatty and me, truly heartbroken to the extreme. The pressure she endured today was truly immense. I didn't know how to console her, so I just let her sit beside Professor Chen and sob. Fatty and I walked to the front of the stone casket, whose lid Professor Chen had pushed open, to see what was inside. The 2 main casket doors in front had been pulled open, and the buffalo hide lacquer had peeled off. Inside, we saw 2 smaller stone doors, each also coated with the same buffalo hide lacquer. Above them were 3 carvings, all 3 of which sent a cold sweat down my back, leaving me stunned and speechless for a long time. Fatty also peered inside but didn't understand, so he asked me, "What do these paintings depict?" "Hey, don't tell me you're scared of these paintings." I took a deep breath, trying to keep myself calm, and said to Fatty, "On these paintings is another prophecy from the oracle." Fatty quickly asked, "What does this prophecy say? Does it tell us how to get out of this cursed place?" I tried to suppress the agitation in my heart, and whispered to him, "The prophecy says that among the 4 people who open the 2nd layer of doors, 1 is an evil spirit. The 3 stone carvings on the 2nd layer of doors were like this. The first depicted 4 people standing and opening the casket. 3 of these 4 figures had no distinct features, still appearing as ordinary humans like the previous figures. But one of them had an eye growing on its head, 2 serpent fangs drawn on the circular head and limbs added. It was clearly the guardian deity of Jingju City on the 4th floor of the Black Tower. Calling it a deity was less fitting than calling it an evil spirit. This human figure was only given a few extra strokes, but it sent shivers down my spine. Fatty, Professor Chen, Shirley Yang, and I. Now there were only 4 of us left alive. Who was the evil spirit? The second and third stone carvings, placed side by side, depicted 2 different outcomes. The first outcome: 3 people and the evil spirit with an eye on its head opened the stone casket together. At that moment, the evil spirit would suddenly attack, gouging out the hearts and livers of the other 3. The second outcome: the evil spirit rolls onto the ground, its head severed from its neck, and it has been killed. 3 people open the second door, and a passageway appears in the tomb chamber, allowing them to escape. So the prophet had given us a hint, allowing us to choose our own fate? This was truly too difficult a problem. Fatty and I were like 2 arms of one body, neither could be missing. Professor Chen was kind and gentle, and had treated me well. Shirley Yang had saved my life. No matter which of the 3 of them was the evil spirit, I couldn't bring myself to act. If I hadn't known whether the prophecy was true or false before, perhaps I wouldn't have been afraid. But this prophet, dead for thousands of years, had an oracle so accurate it left one speechless. So, was one of us truly an evil spirit? Whether it was someone possessed by a demon, or an evil spirit that had always disguised itself as a normal human, this was now a tangible truth before my eyes. At this moment, I couldn't avoid confronting it. The second stone box definitely had to be opened. If we didn't eliminate the one hiding their identity, we would surely die here as burial objects. So who was the evil spirit? It couldn't be me. I looked at Fatty. The eyes were the most direct point for observing a person. Eyes were very difficult to disguise. I knew Fatty's gaze better than anyone. It was just as before, ignoring everything as if saying, "Your old man here is number 1 under heaven. If anyone doesn't obey, I'll smash him." Of course, it couldn't be Fatty. So if it wasn't the 2 of us, then? I secretly looked behind me, at Shirley Yang and Professor Chen. Shirley Yang was also intently looking at me. I didn't dare meet her gaze, and quickly pretended to look away. Shirley Yang saw Fatty and me constantly whispering after opening the stone casket, so she asked, "Brother Yi, what's inside?" I winked at Fatty, who understood, and quickly pretended to sit down and rest, perfectly shielding the open stone casket from Shirley Yang's view. I had to figure out a way to reassure them first. I could only act once I had a plan. I told Shirley Yang, "There's nothing inside, it's empty." Shirley Yang asked one question and then said nothing more. She sat to one side, taking out some water, intending to give Professor Chen a few sips. Professor Chen was completely mad now, recognizing no one. He pushed the water bottle, knocking it onto the ground, then flailed his legs, laughing boisterously. This was our last half bottle of clean water. Shirley Yang quickly picked up the bottle, but more than half of the remaining water had spilled. Fatty said to me, "What now? Should we drag both of them out?" I immediately cut him off. "Don't." Before clarifying the truth, we absolutely cannot act rashly or will regret it. That's right, neither of us is a suspect, right? Fatty replied, "Of course, what kind of people are we, isn't it obvious? I think that American woman is the most suspicious." I said, "I think we should just ask around first, lest if we act rashly later, Ms. Yang and Professor Chen won't be able to argue with us." Fatty, "Damn it, guns are the government, what logic? Directly interrogate both of them. If they don't confess, severe punishment awaits, if they still don't after further interrogation." As he spoke, he swung his hand down as if chopping someone. As soon as I heard Fatty say that guns are the government, a plan suddenly struck me. This evil spirit must have emerged from Jingzhou City. No matter how it disguised itself, it would never have experienced the Cultural Revolution. These monsters and demons couldn't have engaged in political study or read newspapers. They could assume human form, but they might not understand outside affairs. So I said to Fatty, "Just now you said guns are the government. That's enough to prove you're not an evil spirit. Now it's your turn to test me. I'll also prove I'm not, and then we'll proceed to question the other 2. Fatty scratched his head. "Then recite Chairman Mao's poem." Without thinking, I immediately recited, "The Internationale's Elegy, sing a song, For us the strong winds sweep across the sky. Fatty said, that's right, you're definitely not an evil spirit. Shirley Yang was exceptionally smart. Seeing Fatty and me constantly whispering to each other, she immediately understood there was a problem. She instantly stood up and walked towards us. What are you two talking about? And whispering behind people's backs too. Fatty and I jumped up shouting, stand still. One more step and we won't be polite. Shirley Yang stared blankly and asked, what's wrong with you two? Are your nerves acting up? Fatty replied, nothing's wrong, we just want to hear you sing. Sing, Commander Lin's order for us. Shirley Yang understood even less. What kind of time was this? Having just lost so many friends and trapped in such a desperate situation, how could she be in the mood to sing? Let alone sing Commander Lin's order, which she had almost certainly never heard of. I thought to myself that Fatty telling her to sing this song was a bit off. Asking an American woman to sing this song, she definitely wouldn't know it. So what should I ask now? Who is the current US president? Damn it, even I wasn't sure of that question. I pulled out the black donkey hoof and both coaxed and tricked Shirley Yang, saying, don't ask so many questions. Now just bite this, then give Professor Chen a bite. Just do as I say, it will only benefit you, not harm you. Shirley Yang looked annoyed. Even you've gone mad? This donkey hoof is used to exorcise evil spirits and banish ghosts. I won't eat it, put it away. The more she refused to eat it, the more suspicious she seemed. I signaled to Fatty with my eyes. Without a word, he stepped forward, pushed Shirley Yang to the ground, and used his belt to tie all her limbs. Shirley Yang was so furious her face alternated between flushed red and pale white. Gritting her teeth, she said, Hu Bayi? Is it because you saw me expose your tomb, raiding tricks that you now intend to kill me to silence me? Question mark. You two quickly release me. Professor Chen sat to one side, gleefully giggling, saliva drooling from both corners of his mouth. I glanced at Professor Chen, my heart aching immensely. A highly learned elder, unexpectedly reduced to this state. Yet, I couldn't rule out the possibility that he was the suspect. I would deal with Shirley Yang's situation first, then decide. I steeled my heart and asked Shirley Yang, are you really Queen Jingju? Shirley Yang angrily said, damn Hu Bayi, what nonsense are you spouting? I said coldly, I think you're either possessed by that monstrous Queen Jingju or she has reincarnated into you. Otherwise, how could you have dreamed of the situation in the ghost cave? And how could an American woman like you know our tomb? Raiding slang? Fatty had long found Shirley Yang annoying and finally had an opportunity to vent. He drew his dagger and plunged it into the ground with a thud. Just leave her to me. She knows we specialize in tomb raiding, which isn't strange. This monster definitely knows mind reading, so questioning her is useless. Let's carve 2 slashes on her face and then ask again, see if she confesses. Having said that, he prepared to act. I saw Shirley Yang struggling to hold back her tears, ignoring Fatty's dagger and instead staring intently at me. My heart softened. I remembered that after she saved my life in Zoklama Gorge, I had said I owed her my life. How could I be harsh with her now? I quickly stopped Fatty. Wait. Let's first discuss our prisoner treatment policy with her. If she remains stubborn to the end, it won't be too late to act then. Fatty said, actually, I don't have the heart to disfigure this beautiful young lady, but this monster is cunning and deceitful. We must be careful not to be enchanted by her beauty. The more Shirley Yang heard, the angrier she became, almost choking. She couldn't hold it back any longer, and tears burst forth. I only heard her choke out, I myself don't understand why I dreamed of the ghost cave. I know your tomb. Raiding slang because my maternal grandfather also did this profession before going to America. I'll tell you about it later if there's a chance. I've said everything that needed to be said. If you two want to chop or kill, just do it. I guess I misjudged you. Fatty cleared his throat coldly and said, eloquent words, still pretending to be innocent, go ahead and pretend. Yi. Give your opinion, how should we handle this? I placed the black donkey hoof next to Shirley Yang's mouth. Bite this once. As soon as you bite it once, I'll release you immediately. Shirley Yang said, You just kill me quickly. Otherwise, I won't forgive you later. Even as a ghost, I won't forgive you. Seeing Shirley Yang refuse to bite the donkey hoof, I took the dagger from Fatty's hand. At this moment, a voice echoed in my heart, asking myself, if she truly was an evil spirit, could I bring myself to strike? The answer was clearly no. But if I didn't kill the evil spirit among the four of us, everyone would die in this tiny tomb. Damn it, in that case, let's all die together. As I was struggling intensely with this internal conflict, Professor Chen suddenly burst into foolish laughter, abruptly stood up and began flailing his arms and legs wildly. Fearing he would open the inner stone casket, I reached out and pulled him back. Professor Chen laughed loudly, yelling, "This flower, so beautiful, green, green, red, red, I'm going to pick this flower, ha ha ha." I saw his mad, deranged appearance, and then heard him mention a flower. This kind of madness, where had I seen it before? No, not seen, but heard. The sole surviving British explorer. My mind was instantly tangled like a ball of thread, then suddenly an invisible hand seemed to pull out a single thread, a very small clue, but I managed to grasp it. Corpse. Scented flower? Could it be that we still haven't escaped the illusion trap it created? The corpse. Scented flower, this demonic flower from hell, we are still within its control, it's luring us to slaughter each other.